Welcome to Her Story, Our Story, 1 Hour of Power. Meet your host, Stephanie Wall, and your co-host, Hope Jackson. Do you sometimes feel unfulfilled and confused about your purpose? Did you know that there's often a huge disconnect between what we do for our lives and the actions that we take towards achieving those goals? And that is why we've created Her Story, Our Story, 1 Hour of Power. It's an online free private group for women who want to overcome the obstacles that they face in life so that they can be happier, more fulfilled versions of themselves. Welcome to Her Story, Our Story, 1 Hour of Power. So what can you expect by joining Her Story, Our Story, 1 Hour of Power? You will connect with other like-minded people from all over the world who share struggles openly without judgment, receive support from others who've been through similar situations, and you'll feel empowered enough to change your life, to take the actions that matter. Together, we create meaningful changes in our lives. Welcome. Welcome. So listen, this is another Wednesday, almost at the eve of Christmas Eve. I am Stephanie Wall, speaker Stephanie, your transformation architect. Welcome to Her Story, Our Story, 1 Hour of Power. And tonight, baby, Sonja Keeve is getting ready to give you all the business. I know all my podcasters, all you wannabe podcasters, all my inspired podcasters, all my entrepreneurs, CEOs, coaches, and speakers are tuned in either tonight, tomorrow night, whenever you watch it. Make sure that you put in the comments where you view this from. So you know what we're going to do. We transform lives. We transform relationships. Her Story, Our Story is a free group for all women who want more. So listen, I've got to introduce you to my co-host. You know my co-host. I'm going to get off the screen. I need her to you all to see the super bad Hope Jackson. Hope, come on, tell them who you are and what you do.
Good evening, everyone. Again, as Stephanie said, welcome to Her Story, Our Story. And I am just here just to remind you all that no matter what you go through in life, there is always hope. Even in your darkest hours, there is hope, and God will lead you to transformation. So I hope you all got your edges snapped down and you just ready to get into this evening. I am going to go ahead and open in prayer just to give honor and glory to God. So, Heavenly Father, we just come to you tonight just to say thank you, Lord. Thank you for allowing us to come on tonight just to help to transform lives, Lord Father God. We trust you. We know that you will lead us in the way that you want us to go. Father God, I just ask that whoever comes on tonight just gets a word or something that will just help to shift and transform their mind. And all these things we ask in your mighty and precious name. Amen. Back over to you, Stephanie. You are muted.
As per usual, every week. Okay. So y'all, listen, I'm going to go ahead and bring our guests up. I need y'all to see our awesome guests. Hey, Sonja. All right, y'all, wait a minute. So let me read y'all. Got to read y'all this bio. Got to get the bio. And then you get to hear from our awesome guests. All right, podcaster Sonja Keeve is an international Amazon best-selling author, speaker, podcaster, and a consultant. As a wife, mother, mentor, and leader in her community, her passions lie in helping emerging career professional women to turn their passion projects into a thriving business to generate secondary income for their households. Amen to snaps and a clap. Sonja is the CEO of Sisters with a Voice. It's a podcast network, and she's also the founder of the Facebook community group Build, Launch, and Monetize a Podcast, where both aspiring and seasoned podcasters collaborate and share their expertise via podcasting. As the executive director and host of Inspiring Nations, an international podcast show heard in over 164 plus countries. Amen. Right? Look, y'all better get with it. Okay. Now, y'all hearing what I'm hearing. She interviews women from across the globe that have stories of how they inspire others every day. She also opened her own podcast school entitled Sisters with a Voice, the podcast network, where she offers webinars and courses on how to launch a podcast in 30 days or less. You know what? Where's my? I slept on it. I'm sorry, but I got it together. Claps and hearts and all of that. Baby, I cannot. And that's what I'm saying, Hope. OMG. So Hope, you're gonna keep get tags on our comments. All right, Clarissa. Law, I see you. Yes. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. This is where we do a little icebreaker. So Hope and I will be back and forth. That's what we do. That's what me and my co-hosts do. We like icebreakers. We live for the icebreaker. So I'm sure Hope got a juicy one over there. But I'm gonna go ahead and start with this one. Okay. So Sonja, you might break the tie. I don't know. You might tie it up maybe. If you could go anywhere, we know this post or almost post-pandemic world, anywhere, if you have to worry about none of that, but you could go anywhere right now for some time. Would it be somewhere on the beach, somewhere where it's cold, on some skiing, up in the mountains somewhere, or just camping?
Definitely the beach.
God dang it, Sonja. One more check to the. Everybody's going to the beach. Why to the beach?
The warm weather, the blue skies, and blue water.
I'm with it. So wait a minute. Where are you? And where do you live in the world?
I am in Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Girl, you got well, not right now. We experienced you all experiencing the cold snap. See, for us, this is normal. Maybe not because it's 55 degrees. But I mean, I want to say the other day, folks were telling me in Atlanta, they were like, "Oh, it's 33 degrees." I was like, "Wow, It was 33 degrees here." Wow. Okay. Well, wait a minute. Well, co-host, what you got? What you got for?
All right, Sonja, here is mine. If you had a time machine, what year would you visit and why?
I would absolutely visit 1984. I am originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so I'm a Philly girl born and bred. And that was the summer that my mother had decided we were going to move to Virginia. I didn't even know anything about Virginia. I was like, where the heck is that on the map? And I was I was older than that. I was like 12. I was 12 years old. And I was like, we're moving where? She was like, we're moving to Virginia. So that particular summer, this was like, if you're from the North, it's like block parties for days. Everybody in the neighborhood knows everybody. Like, you got disciplined from the neighbor to the top of the street to the bottom of the street. We went to the corner stores. We played double dutch in the streets. And it was like the summer of all summers. Like, I got to be with all of my friends, all of my family. And we were outside in the streets from 6 a.m. till it got dark. And, when the lights came on, you had to get on the porch. But because it was my last summer in Philly that year, my parents were like, you can just hang out all night long. So, and it was like hot where, your bangs are like sweating to your forehead. And I had on my bamboo earrings, at least 2 pair. And it was like the best summer ever. And it was like, if I could have just stayed that in time, encapsulated that moment in time, it would have been 1984, the summer 1984, before we moved to Virginia.
Girl, you had me at the bamboo earrings why was I with you with the bangs? I was starting to move my bangs just because I was like, oh. But that and of course, as soon as you said bamboo earrings, I was already at LL Cool J and wait a minute, and Salt and Pepper and everybody. I was like, girl, as soon as you said 80s, I was like, my blood pressure went up because that was a good year. That was a good time period. Yes. Okay. Well, wait a minute. So this is what I want to know. I want you to tell us a little bit about you. So you came from Philly, you went to Virginia, and you stayed.
Yes.
So my co-host and I, we need to know from you. Tell us about one. I want you to tell me, because you got to tell everybody, like right now, we talk about the right now before we get into that story. Who are you, right? You know, if you on Clubhouse, you know, they tell you, look, who are you? Who do you serve, right? And how do you serve them, basically? So tell us that. Tell us about that.
So, and I am a mother, I am a woman, but I am someone who believes in helping and pouring into other women, because I was that person who used to be the people pleaser, always wanting to be friends with everybody in the world. And when no one wanted to be friends, I was trying to figure out why. And so I got into a space in my life where I had to realize I was enough, that I was perfect just the way I was. And I needed to be able to share my story and share my voice with the world. And so I found my purpose and passion much later in life. I am not afraid to say my age. I am 49 years old. And I found my passion in my late 40s. And what I found was that there were so many women out there that had these amazing stories, but they didn't have a platform or a voice to be able to share it. And so I wanted to be the one to make the change. And so I decided to create this amazing platform called Sisters with a Voice Podcast Network. And I help women entrepreneurs, whether you are new in business or whether you've been doing this for quite some time. And I help women entrepreneurs to get unstuck from thinking about starting a podcast to building, launching, and monetizing a podcast in 30 days or less, so that they can get the credibility, the visibility, and the profitability for their business. Because the thing that I know is that if you are not being seen, if you are not being in the right circles, and you're not being on the right stages, then don't wait for other people to call you. Create your own stage, create your own table, create your own narrative. Because at the end of the day, they say, you know, there's the time when you're born, and then there's the time when you die. The dash in the middle is what you have the control over. So if you are ready to change your life and absolutely have a life, what I call a life of significance, then it's time for you to come out the shadows, get off the sidelines, and get in the game. And if you're ready to do that, then I'm ready to take you on a journey of a lifetime. So that is who I am.
You know what? I was like, you better. I'm over there, snap, and clap. I'm looking at my co-host. We got, because she over there, she clapping. Look at her. Look at her. And my co-host was over, and I know she over there taking copious notes, because that's what she does. I see you. But Hope, what you got? What you got? What are you thinking? Before we dive in, what's your thoughts as you're hearing these wonderful things that our guest does?
For me, it's just what you do. And the fact that you said, you know, you really found your purpose and you started walking in it and wanted to help, you know, others in your late 40s. And so many of us, I'm 47, believe that it's too late when you get in your 40s. Like if you haven't figured it out, or if you haven't found it, you know, some women believe that it's too late, like, you know, and they feel stuck. So the fact that you are encouraging and inspiring and helping them to walk in what God has for them despite their age, and you're the example so that they can see that sometimes it takes you a little longer. I mean, I didn't find what I was supposed to do until I was in my 40s, and I'm good with that. You know, God has a purpose, and there's a purpose, and there's a time. So I give you kudos for doing that, and I'm just waiting to get into the meat and the potatoes. We got the appetizer, you know, we got that little thing that cleanses the palate. So, you know, I told everybody earlier, hold on to your edges, strap your wigs down, because you don't know what we're gonna get tonight. So I'm ready.
I love it. All right. So this is where we have some questions. Sis, I'm getting ready to, let's do this. I want you, before you were a consultant, before you started podcasting, before you became an author, you launched yourself, right? Your own business. Who were you? Tell us about tell us about the person before you met your success or your next. Tell us about that.
It is really funny. not to go back too far into life, but I come from a family of educators. My mother, my grandmother, my aunts, cousins, everybody were teachers. My sophomore year in high school, I had taken an accounting class because I had to take an elective. And so when I decided to take this class, the first thing I asked was, what were the salaries of those who were teachers and those who became accountants? And when I saw the salary difference, I absolutely went for the money. And so I had fast forwarded, decided to go to college to become an accountant. Well, life didn't always happen the way it should have. I partied a little too much. And so I had to go back to college much later in life. So I used the skills that I had and started working in corporate America. And right on the onset of 2008, when the economy collapsed, a lot of people lost their jobs, couldn't find jobs. Temp agency reached out to me to say, here's an opportunity for you to work at a bank. I was like, great, because I need a job. I was working at this company, working my way up the corporate ladder. I did not even have my degree yet. But because of my know-how, I knew how to figure things out. And so I was working my way up the corporate ladder, had been working for this bank at this time for about 5 years. And this was in 2015. And I was working from home. Everything was amazing, doing well. And I got a call from my boss to say the head man had come into town and wanted to meet me personally. So I'm thinking, this is another amazing opportunity. I'm probably going to get a promotion, because my goal was to become a senior vice president of the bank. There weren't many women of color. I had got with a mentor who was helping me to reach that pinnacle. And so I'm excited for this meeting. I get into the corporate office and I call my husband to tell him that I am going to be meeting with the head guy of our division. And the first thing he said to me was, you don't think they're going to lay you off, do you? And I was like, why would you say that? He was like, I don't know. I just wanted to know. I said, no, I don't think that's it. I've been doing so well. I think this could potentially be a promotion. But as I'm driving into the corporate office, of course, this funny feeling starts to come over me. And I'm like, they wouldn't call me in to lay me off. And then, of course, I just shook it off as, no, I'm not going to worry about what my husband said. This is my time. This is my season. And so I'm walking into the building. And as I get up to the top floor, this senior VP of the division that I was meeting with was at the end of the hall. And I was walking and my heart started kind of racing because I'm nervous and I'm, all in my head about what is this meeting about? But I decided I was going to let that go and be excited about the moment. But as I'm walking towards the hallway and walking down the hallway, and my heart is beating, I'm a little nervous. And so when I get to the end of the hall, I have this smile and I extend my hand out and say, it's so nice to finally meet you, and put a name to a face. He asked me to sit down. And so he was like, so nice to meet you. And I literally 60 seconds into the conversation, his smile turned into a frown and I got a little concerned. And and I said, well, what's this meeting about? And the next words out of his mouth were, I'm sorry, but due to a reorganization, we're going to have to let you go. Now, pause for a moment, because just the day before, on March the 9th of 2015, the bank had just given me a 5-year token of appreciation for all of my hard work and service. So that was the reason why I felt like, oh, okay, we're going to get this promotion. But for him to say to me, after just receiving my 5-year token of appreciation, that we're gonna have to let you go. I don't remember anything that he said after that, because it was like something out of a Charlie Brown movie. I just heard wah, 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 wah. I didn't hear anything else about other than we're gonna have to let you go. And in that moment, I had two options. I could have just gotten up and tossed some furniture, or I could have just allowed this to kind of sink in and figure out what was going to be my next. And I was so angry, but I held my composure because I knew that I represented my mother and my grandmother and all the women before me. And I wasn't going to act like a fool in this office. So I stood up, I extended my hand, and I said, well, thank you for the opportunity. As I'm getting ready to walk out, I asked him, I said, do you mind if I tell the rest of my colleagues goodbye? And the next words out of his mouth was, you have 5 minutes to collect your things and go. I can tell you at that very moment, my entire life had changed, because I was raised to believe you go to school, you get a good job, you stay on that job for a long time, people will reward you for your longevity and for your commitment to the company. Did not have any degrees. This was my entire life. And now what was I going to do? But in that moment, as I was walking out of the building, and of course I had to be escorted out, as I walked to my car, I looked back at that building and I said, I will never again be in this position where someone else controls the narrative for the life that God had already predestined for me to have. And the day that I walked out of that bank with my head held high, God began to start working on me. And that is when my journey began.
Woo! I'm sitting over here ready to, I done got the Vaseline out. I'm ready to go fight somebody. Girl, see that, that's my other life. That's my other life. And look, and I know I was watching backstage when I was my my co-host was like, she snatched her head up like who I need to go talk to about this thing. This is the thing. That's real. That's very, very real.
Yeah.
That. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pause that. I want y'all to hold that thought. We're going to do a little quick commercial, and then I'm going to come back. But remind me when I come back to tell you about me working for a temp agency and seeing that very thing happen. And up until it happened, I was excited about my opportunity, but I found that my opportunity was not it was a blessing for me, but a curse for other people. So remember, hold that, okay? All right, so I'm going to take a quick commercial. You all get a glass of water because we got more chatting to do. So hold tight. But in the meantime, I want you to tell me also this. Do you have children?
Yes, we are a blended family, so I am a mother of 3. I've got my bonus baby, who's 30 years old, and she just had her first daughter. So Miss Ava is our first grandbaby, and she's now 2 years old. My daughter Jada is 20 years old and a junior at Old Dominion University. And then my son, who is 18 years old, who has special needs, has started and finished his first semester in college.
Y'all, listen, this is what I'm talking about. Just look, girl, I got all kinds of claps and everything. Because first of all, let me tell you something. She not only fierce, but she a mama. And she is now a grandmama. First of all, I know y'all don't believe that because y'all looking at her too. But we're gonna come back. We're gonna dive in a little deeper with that thing. But we're gonna take a quick little commercial right quick. So let's do that. That's it. Well, we're gonna do it.
Hi, I'm Sharon Allen. And since I began my journey with Speaker Stephanie, the transformation architect and also known as the Tower of Power, I've gained so much more confidence. I've also been able to help other women with their life challenges, such as feeling stuck, divorce, and even loss. So if you want to increase your visibility or grow your business or even your confidence using your voice, I highly recommend that you use and work with Stephanie because she is awesome and she is the best of the best. I mean, great beyond words.
All right, and we are back. All right, so this is where I want to know from you, and so Hope and I probably both got all kinds of questions, so bear with us. But I want to know, so because let me go back to the story because I did tell you. So I worked right across, and we live in Maryland. So I work for a temp agency. They say if you want to get in, work for the temp agency. Mm-hmm. So I'm working for this agency, and I'm landing these great little administrative positions. And like you, I wasn't my degree at that time. I didn't have anything, but I was landing these great little spots. So I got into this one in the office. It was great. They already told me when you get there, we're gonna be there for a while, and it may turn to something. Something. Yeah. Yes, man, it was all good. I was thinking the first week, like, what is my job? like I haven't done anything. Like, I mean, like I'm sitting in the cubicle and I mean, the 8 hours were dragging because I was like not really doing anything. And I mean, by the second week, I was ready to quit because of this one thing. Every Friday at 4:00, they fired somebody. They laid somebody off. Every Friday at 4:00, somebody was called to the office. They were being walked out with that little brown box. And then they would call everybody to the center of the room as if like, okay, like it wasn't going to happen next Friday. Listen, everybody calm down, blah, blah, blah. It's the same little comment, the same spiel. And it was like, oh my God, I just became friends with that person. And then I realized, which was the awful truth, that they were bringing more and more of us temporary people in, and we were taking the positions of those people that they were layering off because, see, there's no insurance for us. You follow them? It's cheaper to have a temp person. Then I was like, oh, so now do they like us? Heck no. You coming in here taking my job. And so I couldn't wait to leave that position because I didn't, just for that reason. It was like, oh, I mean, every week it was heartbreaking. So, but I want to know from you, what if you had to think of one thing or one person you would like, well, one thing you would tell anybody that wanted to be a podcaster from the beginning. They don't know where to start. I just know I want to be a podcaster, right? Where do they start? And what would be the thing you tell them to do to keep from like, well, everybody's going to reach, it's entrepreneurship is hard. So we know that. But where should they start so that they don't make a bumble where they but to quit from the beginning because they made a terrible mistake? What would be your advice for that person?
Definitely anyone who's thinking about starting a podcast, you definitely want to start from a place of what is the end goal and the reason for you wanting to start your podcast, because everybody's reason is going to be different. And so you need to really start from that place of why, that place deep inside that says why you want to start the podcast, not why your mama said it, why your daddy said it, why your girlfriend said it. Because at the end of the day, this becomes your platform. This is your stage. This is where you begin to share your expertise. And so when you create a podcast, you are going to create a space where you're not only going to help transform lives, but you're going to help solve problems or pursue a passion for someone. And when I created my own podcast show, it was to give a voice to women who had these incredible stories of how they inspire others every day. And for many of them, it's the first place where somebody sees them, sees who they are. So understand from yourself, from your own perspective, why do you want to start the podcast and what is going to be that end goal? Because when you understand the end goal, then the content and your expertise is going to all center around your why. And the why is even more important because life happens. You know, we all have ebbs and flows in our life. And so the podcast has to be the thing for you that you would do even if you weren't getting paid, because you realize that the podcast, while you may have created it, it's not for you. It's for those whose lives you were called to serve.
So then that's powerful. That's powerful. So so tell me, what was something, so you went from they laid you off and you was like, I'm not going to experience this anymore. I'm not going to, I'm going to create my own space. Did you go right into podcasting or you did something else first?
Nope. I went home, got down on my knees and asked God what was my next. Because I had spent the latter part of the first half of my life doing what I wanted to do, not really going by God's guidance. And so this was my wake-up call. And so I participated in a 40-day fast. And I said, God, I need my life to have meaning. Like when I die, I need to know that I touched other people's lives, that I just wasn't Sonja. I was someone who helped somebody else. And so he gave me, at the end of that 40-day fast, he gave me Ephesians 5:2. and it was to walk in love. And at the time, we had just ushered in new president, President Donald Trump, and the country had completely fallen apart. There were people and friends who had disassociated from each other simply by their political affiliations. And I was tired of seeing all the negative press, all the negative energy that was on social media and on the news. And so I started putting out these positive posts because I wanted to change the narrative. And so God showed me that in order to walk in love, I have to demonstrate that. Well, how do I demonstrate walking in love? And I did it by performing a simple act of kindness and passing it forward. And so a friend of mine had a t-shirt company, and he created the t-shirt. And at the end of every post, I would say hashtag walk in love. And so we created the t-shirt, hashtag walk in love, Ephesians 5:2. And so when I would go out in public, because at this point I was unemployed, so I was trying to find my next. And so I would go out in public and I would wear my shirt, and people would walk, all facets, all nationalities, and they would walk past me and go, more people need to do that. And I would turn my head like, what do you mean? And I realized, oh, I had my shirt on. And then people would walk up to me and say, more people need to walk in love. Well, what does that mean? And so I began to share my story of how I went from being a corporate, layoff to now trying to find my purpose. And so I created the t-shirt apparel line called Walk in Love 2 Creations. And the goal was for people to buy the t-shirt, and then they performed that simple act of kindness. And the thought was that if each one of us performed one simple act of kindness to a random stranger, we could absolutely change the narrative, what was happening in our country. And we could start seeing each other for who we are, not worrying about the color of our skin or where we came from, our socioeconomic background. It was just being kind. And when you do that, love comes from service of others. And so from the Walk in Love t-shirts, I was approached by Cheryl Wood, who is a renowned motivational speaker. And at the time, she was doing an anthology called Women Inspiring Nations. And she had been watching and following my story because I would go on social media, I would do these videos and I would do these posts and end it with Walk in Love. And she said, I really feel like, your story would be great for my book anthology project. So this now became my first opportunity of becoming a published author. And I was one of 20 something women who shared their stories. And I shared my story of being laid off from corporate America to how I was able to find my purpose. And the book was sold so many copies. I got a chance to travel around the state to promote the book. And right off the heels of Walk in Love and then the book, I realized, well, you know what, I'm going to be a motivational speaker like Cheryl Wood, because I was like, that for me, that would be the next to get on stage, until my coach said, well, what are you going to teach them? I was like, well, I'm going to motivate the people. That's what I'm going to do. And she said, no, there's something. You need to be able to have something where you can help transform the lives of other people. And so I had to go back into prayer and say, God, I've done the t-shirts, I've done this book, but what am I to do next to inspire nations? And he gave me the podcast idea, and didn't know what was going to be called at the time. And in my prayer, he just said, duh, you're going to call it Inspiring Nations. And I'd had no idea the platform of how it was going to be, but I knew two things. I knew I loved inspiring women, and I knew I loved to talk. So through a social media dare, I was part of a program inside of Facebook where they were challenging brand new entrepreneurs to come up with a product or service, but the caveat, you had to be ready to implement it. So I put a question out there on social media, and I asked, if I start a podcast, will you be my guest? 50 women said yes. Some of them I knew, some of them I didn't. So all I had was a show idea and these 50 women. And we launched on March 10th of 2018, Inspiring Nations with Sonja Keeve. 3 months into the show, we were heard in 3 countries and across the United States. 6 months into the show in 2018, I had sold out my entire guest spot. By the end of 2018, I collaborated with Creative Broadcast TV and Talk Radio LLP, and we were heard in over 164 plus countries. And to date, we are in season 3 of Inspiring Nations. And it all came because I was obedient to hear from the word of God, to listen to what my next was going to be, because that corporate layoff ended up being the biggest blessing of my life, but I didn't know it at the time. But I had to go through the wilderness to get to the other side of through, to get to the place where God had always destined me to be, that I didn't need the degrees. I didn't need the validation from men and women. All I needed to do was to show up and be a willing vessel to help other women to find their purpose. And Inspiring Nations was birthed from there. And here we are today.
And our co-host Ari can see you like, I got questions. So go forth.
It's not so much as questions. I'm just truly inspired by your story. But I was thinking something. What would you go back and tell your 18-year-old self? Like, what piece of advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
I don't care how scared you are, do it anyway. There were so many opportunities that I didn't go for because I didn't have the degree, because I was afraid of the rejection. And now I teach my children, whatever it is you want to do, in order to be successful, you have to see yourself successful. And it starts here in your mind. And I would tell my 18-year-old self, go for that thing that scares you, because that's going to be the thing that's going to free you. And don't worry about what other people are going to think about. It's what is in your heart. Follow your heart and go for it, because I feel like had I done that, there were a lot of different decisions I would have made. In hindsight, I realized that sometimes God's going to allow you to go through things even when we disobey him. But I feel like the experiences of what I went through made me so much stronger. So that's why I feel like there's more impact that I have with women, because everyone can relate to a layoff or a disappointment. But no one ever talks about the comeback. And that for me was the significance, the day my life changed, when I decided to come back from something that was so traumatic to my life, but to still smile, to still get up every day, and to still push through, because there was something being birthed in me that I never knew was there. And now that I'm here in this space, I cannot imagine my life being any other way.
Bringing myself back into the story. Okay, now. So let me ask you this. When you like some days, because the hard days, we all have hard days.
Yeah.
What keeps you coming back? Even because I just tell everybody, when you have a show, you showing up, if you got one person or no persons, what do you do to keep you motivated to keep showing up even when, until your people can show up for you?
God. I made it when COVID hit and a lot of people lost their jobs. I was one of the very fortunate people, not only to still keep a job, but I was able to get another job and get a promotion and a bonus in the middle of a pandemic. I still was operating my podcast business. And I used to travel 2.5 hours every day to go to work. And didn't have time, sitting in traffic. And I used to sit in the car and go, God, man, I wish I could have time to get up early enough to be able to spend that time with you. So literally every morning, without fail, for the past 2.5 years, I'm up every morning at 6 a.m. I don't have to be to work till 9 a.m., but I'm up every morning at 6 a.m. and I spend that time with God. And I listen to his voice of what he wants me to do today. And I always ask him, who can I bless today? Allow my spirit to be open and willing to hear from you so that I don't miss the miracle that's going to happen today. And I can tell you, since that commitment that I made, my life has been incredible. And it started, like I said, that COVID happened. It became this blessing. Like, I don't know many people that not only had a job, but left a job to go get a new job and get a promotion all in the same year and not miss a beat. And that can't be nobody but God. I mean, because nobody else could have orchestrated that like God can. So I am intentional in my time with him because I know what my life used to be like, and I am who I am because of who he is.
You speaking a word up here. I was just like, I would get ready to just take us all the way off the scene. You just speaking a word up in here. So okay. When you because then folks like, okay, talk about platforms, because folks kind of like, I'm trying to understand, like, they're like, is this a platform, is this a podcast? So tell me about your podcast. Like, is it you are you on the radio, are you audible only, are you both, are you video, and how did you come to be in almost 200 countries? I mean, 200 places. How'd that come to be? Like, talk about that.
My platform is an audio podcast, but I interview my guests through video, but the final product is audio. And I do that intentionally because I want to see my guests. I want to interact with them, because when you hear Inspiring Nations, you hear just two good girlfriends having a great conversation. And the topics range from people starting businesses to people who have had children who have committed suicide and now having to raise their own kids, or having to lost their job, living in a complete shelter only to help other people find a job in the midst of their own pain. And so you hear these amazing stories, and we just have this conversation and we just talk about the things that matter to my guest. And the reason why it's heard all over the world is because the message taps into what people need. And so when you're very clear about your avatar and who your target audience is, the content that you create, the guests that you have, the expertise that you share, all tie into solving the pain point for your audience and for your listener. And I would like to also say that I believe the reason why so many people tune in is because they hear me. I am very transparent. I am very authentic in who I am. Like, I'm not trying to be the next Oprah Winfrey, because God didn't create me. God didn't create me to be Oprah. God created me to be Sonja. And so people resonate with someone like me. When they look at me, they see themselves in me, and they see me in them. And so I am very intentional on creating a space where it's safe, where people can share what they want. And a lot of times the guests will tell me at the end of the show, I was sharing stuff, I didn't plan on it, but because you made me feel so welcoming, creating an amazing guest experience is more important than because when people feel like they can relate to you, they can vibe with you, then they'll stay with you and become a raving fan for years to come. And so I like to think that it is the place and spaces that I create and the atmosphere that I can create, because it takes a skill to do that in an audio space, because no one can see me. They can only hear my voice. And so I want to welcome everyone in like their family, and I want them to stay, because I am nothing without my fans, and I'm nothing without my guests. And so I'm always intentional in making sure they come first and they matter. And I'm just the conduit that makes it all come together.
So this is the 7:15. This is when we had get to have our Q&A. So what we got, Hope? What you got for us?
So I know you talked about your mom kind of inspired you. Are there any others that have inspired you or that, you looked up to as you were going through this journey?
Definitely, definitely my mom. What a lot of people don't know, and I love to always share this Black history fact. My mother was the first Miss Black America in 1968. At a time when there was segregation. A lot of people think it's Vanessa Williams, but she was the first Miss America. But back in the 60s, there were separate pageants for Blacks and whites. And so my mother became the first Miss Black America. So growing up as a little girl, this is who I saw, and this is who I wanted to emulate. I also admire my grandmother. She's my last maternal grandmother, and she is 99 years old. And honey, she is cutting up in the home. She's doesn't have all of her mind, but she still has all of her wit. And so I like to think that her fiery spirit is where I get that from. And then a lot of people wouldn't say this, but my daughter Jada, when she was the reason why I decided to go back to college as an adult learner, to go get my degree. Because at the time I was pregnant and decided to go back to school. And then the whole time I was going back, working a full-time job and going back to school, I said to myself, well, when I have my daughter, I can't tell her to try to pursue college if it's something that I didn't do myself. And I'm not saying that college is the answer, because college isn't for everyone, but I wanted to be an inspiration and, for her. And then her brother came along 3 years later. And as I said, my son has special needs, and he shared with my mother over the Thanksgiving holiday that he wanted to go to college because he wanted to get degrees like his mom. And so my mother and grandmother became my inspiration. My children became my why. And so these are the folks, my family matter to me. And because of that, I've had the pleasure to have such amazing women that I have met over the years. And I have an amazing sister group of friends called the Fab Five. And some of them are watching, so I wanted to give them a shout out, because all of us came together with the same core principles of, we all decided to build businesses much later in life, in our 40s and 50s. And so now we are blazing the trail for so many women. So the inspiration comes from so many different places, but I'm so grateful that God has used me to be the incubator for it all.
I'm sitting over here like, wait a minute. Did you say your mother was the first what now?
First Miss Black America in 1968.
You bet. Well, first of all, 1968 was a good year. But now, and for me, that's when I was born. But not maybe for Dr. King. But let me tell you this. What? Because I'm sitting over here, all I knew was Vanessa Williams. So you blew my mind with it, right? I was like, ooh, then snatched it. So we didn't know we had the daughter of the first Black. What was your mom's name? What is your mom? Is your mom still with us?
Yeah, she's still with us. At the time, her name was Sonja Williams.
Good. No, not Sonja Williams. So we got not Sonja Williams, and then Vanessa Williams. Is somebody gonna say something about the Williams girls? Loving this. That's crazy good. That's juicy. That's juicy. And I mean, I want you to know, also I was listening to you. I said that Dr. Sherwoods have got all of us. Is there anybody that's not touched by Dr. Sherwood? I mean, honestly, as if you can see behind me, yeah, you guys can see behind me. The books, my books, of course, but then I have like 5 or 6 other books up here. And I am a co-author in about 4 or 5 books with Dr. Sherwood and at least 1 or 2 with Dr. Stevie. So let me tell you, there's something to be said. But well, here's the deal, everybody. If you are not if you are not out there putting yourself out there and getting visibility, and however that means to you. But particularly as an author, whatever you're doing, somebody is looking for you, and you have got to have some credibility, and your credibility starts with your name being up in a book.
Yes.
You landed on some stages, and I've been on a bunch of stages as the result of, quite frankly,
Yes.
Dr. Sherwood's, Dr. Stevie, Les Brown, and the list goes on and on and on. But I'm loving this. But and look, and then of course you and I meet. And hey, girl,
Yep.
hey, right? And Charvette, another Williams, right? But Charvette's event,
Yes.
but it comes full circle. So how did you? So once, okay, so for somebody that doesn't have any, they're starting new. They don't have any clients, right? They may have and their Facebook might not. They haven't built up anybody yet. How do they start?
Mm-hmm. Just showing up, and showing up with a purpose, showing up with understanding what is it that you want people to learn from you. What is it? And for me, it started with inspirational posts. We all have gifts, we all have talents, but a lot of times we are scared to show up. Social media has given such an easy way to connect to people. I know a lot of people don't like to do video, but I'm telling you, it is where you need to be. So people can see your face, people can connect, because before COVID, we couldn't meet people face to face. And simply going on a live video and sharing your expertise. It doesn't matter if no one shows up, one person shows up, because I can tell you, when you know who you are and what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to serve, when you keep showing up, people are watching you. I have been doing podcasting for 3.5 years, and I met women that have come to me and said, I remember your journey when you first began with your videos, me walking in my parking lot at my corporate job, sharing an inspirational message. And they said, when I was looking for someone as a podcast coach, your name popped up. I kept showing up because this is what I knew that I was called to do. And now I don't have to even advertise who I am, because people do it for me, not because of a braggadocious type of way, but because people know that when they work with me, they get the results that they're looking for. And that's what's so important. So when you have a product or service that you're offering, master that to the best of your ability. You're always going to be learning. I had no idea how to do a podcast, but I just had an idea and a vision, and I went for it. And if it failed, I was going to keep going. But thank God it's been successful, and that I keep going, because trust me, I've had days where life happened and I wasn't consistent, but guess what? I gave myself grace, and then I began again. And the people are still rocking with me. People are still wanting to be on the show. People are still joining my courses, classes, because there's someone who's doing it and doing it well. And I've always believed that anything you do, do it with decency and do it in order.
You are amazing. I'm sitting up here. Let me tell you. So let me ask you. So you have a webinar you ready to do. Is there a cost for that, or is that free? You know, sometimes we have a challenge.
Right. Yep. Nope. My the 6-week course is actually going to begin on December 19th. So if you're someone who is looking to learn what it takes to build, launch, and monetize podcasts, I definitely invite you to inbox me on all social media, on SonjaKeeve.com, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. And you can email me at skempowers. So that's my first initial, kempowers@gmail.com. And the course for the class is $997. But what that will include is it will include your equipment. It will include all of your classes, because at the end of that 6 weeks, you are going to launch the podcast. So I take all of the guesswork out and I'll walk you through the 7 simple steps of what it takes. And it's the same steps that I did to launch my international podcast show. And students who work with me, when they're done, they're launching their very own podcast show. So I think that's important because it's someone who's teaching you what it takes, how to do it, how to create the platform. And believe it or not, it's easier than you think, but you just need the right tools and the right resources to make that happen. And I'm the solution.
Wow. Now look at here, y'all. Let me see. Let me put my affiliate link. But listen, get these. No, this is, and I know that some of you want to, and let me see them. I think it might be a question here. Hold on. Oh, that's Clarissa is giving you a shout out, my dear. That's the word. So I want to tell you all, if you are somebody that has been like on the fence, off the fence, or somebody that started a podcast and you like, I started it, but for real, I feel like I'm not really there. I'm not. I don't feel like I'm doing it well. I wish I had talked to somebody before I started this. You know, my name is Stephanie, and I put the cart before the horse, and then I had to go back into right and learn some things. And what about you, Hope? Do you find that you put the cart before the horse?
Very much so, and now I'm reorganizing it and putting it all back together the right way.
Yeah.
So Sonja, tell them so it is 7:26, and so I want you to do your closing. This is where you can do your juicy offer again, or you can tell someone. I want the listeners, whether the people listening right now or people can be listening later on the replay. What is something you would want them to know? Give them their 1 minute or 2 minutes of how they could proceed from here, or what your advice you have for them. And it is on you.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I want to thank Hope Jackson and Stephanie Wall. Thank you so much for this amazing opportunity to talk to your audience. And if you're someone who's interested in wanting to start a podcast and you need that clarity, you need that accountability, I am offering a 6-week class called Launch Your Podcast in 30 Days. And inside of that class, you're going to learn the 7 steps of what it takes to start a podcast. You're going to get your equipment. Yes. So you don't have to invest extra money just to get the equipment. But most importantly, you're going to get one-on-one time with me as I walk you through lessons. You'll get homework assignments. It's such a fun environment. And the class begins on December the 19th. And the cost is $9.97. And we do offer payment plans for those who may need it. And so if you want more information on how you can get in on this class and launch your podcast in 2022, this is the time for you to enroll. You can go to my website at sonjakeeve.com, or you can email me at skempowers@gmail.com, and we can sit and talk and figure out what your next is. Because the thing I know for sure, and the thing that I know without a doubt, that my favorite quote from Westmore is, I would rather flirt with failure than to never have danced in my joy. So don't let 2021 go out before you find your joy. This is the place for you to share your expertise, to generate additional revenue for your business. Because guess what? Podcasting is growing by leaps and bounds. It's 1.75 million podcasts out there. So if I can do it, you can too. Let me take you on an amazing journey that will absolutely help you and get your whole podcast life together.
Well, you said a word there. All right. So this is where I close it out. Thank you again for your yes, Sonja. Those of you, you've heard it here. Go back, watch the replay. If you missed something, we will also put that the email address in the chat. But right now, we just want to thank you, Sonja. This was amazing. And so look, I'm going, you know, there's always some deal in here. So listen, I don't know what the number is, but if some of y'all go ahead and join, I'm sure they will find room for Stephanie to be in there on the affiliate link. No, but anyhow, but this training sounds fabulous. And I know, anytime somebody tells you when you get finished, you can go right into it. That's awesome training. So do not miss your opportunities. If this is what you've been thinking about how to do it, where to do it, go ahead and support this person who we put on this show, Sonja Keeve, because if they came on this show, that means that we've already support and love and appreciate them. So thank you, Sonja. All right, hold tight. All right, you all, this is the deal. Shine your light. You know the deal. If you don't shine your light, no other reason. Your light has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with what's inside you. It has everything to do with the power. And I believe my power source is the Holy Spirit, because I believe in the Holy Trinity. But here's the deal. Whatever you believe in, please believe in something bigger than yourself. Please believe in something bigger than yourself, but know that that light, if you don't do that thing, if you don't go out there and operate in your purpose, which is your light, if you don't do it, then the intended targets do not receive their blessings. So don't block somebody else's blessings because fear is in your way. Do it scared. Do it for many reasons, but do it because somebody needs you. Somebody somewhere in the world needs to hear your voice, or needs the product that you have, or needs the services that you provide, or needs the gifts that you have, whatever that thing is, that because all of us have gifts that I believe came from God, that you are to give to the world. The gifts not for you. Gifts are not for ourselves. See, we don't have gifts for ourselves. We have gifts to give to other people, and other people have gifts that they share with us. So go out there and shine your light. And as Lisa Nichols says, shine your light. Shine is so bright, but if it's too bright for others, ask them to put on their sunglasses. And if it's too bright for you, put on yours. But remember that Bob Proctor says the change is inevitable, but personal development is a choice. So choose wisely. So we will see you same place, same time next week in this location. So please log in, tell your friends about it. Sharing is caring. It's been Stephanie Wall, your transformation architect. See you soon.